Myles and Quori from the Circle season 6. Give us all the tea and some tips and tricks. Are they dating? How did they get cast? Who's their favorite player from a season past? Learn some things you probably never knew. Sit down and enjoy the score interview.
Joining us today, we have two very special guests. These are superstar players from the recently concluded Season 6 of The Circle on Netflix. We have Myles Reed, who is the 6th place finisher, 65.8K Instagram, 42.3K TikTok, a.k.a. Young Poppy Fuego. And
Welcome.
Quori-Tyler Bullock, 3rd place finisher from this season, 50.2K Instagram, 157.9K TikTok, a.k.a. QT. Thank you for being here.
Of course, I'm so excited. This is actually my first time. It's me and Myles' first time doing an interview together.
Oh,
Ooh, exclusive.
All right. Well, yeah, we'll get to some of the other things you may or may not be doing together a little bit later. But first, I want to, if we can, start with your background in reality television. You obviously have both just come off of a big Netflix reality show as players. What did you grow up watching, and what was your kind of first introduction to reality TV?
I'm a huge reality TV connoisseur, if I can. I love all reality TV from Housewives to Big Brother, Survivor.
What's your favorite Housewives?
I think Housewives of New Jersey, honestly.
Oh,
Ooh, all right.
There's something about their accents that just like make me feel like I'm at home. I'm also from New York, so I feel like, I don't know.
it also has the
really
family drama. I feel like that's very
The
particular to
family
New
drama is
Jersey.
crazy. And I love Italian food, and they're all Italian, so I don't know. I just feel drawn to them. Yeah. I love Housewives.
I love
but
flipping tables.
I know. Yeah, crazy. But yeah, I love like social strategy game shows. So like Traders, Survivor,
Traders, yeah.
Big Brother. Like I love all of those things. Circle, obviously, too.
Mhm.
But yeah, love reality TV. It's like one of the only things that I watch, honestly.
Yeah, for me, I think I like it a little bit more trashy. So Jersey Shore is what I grew up on. Besides that, probably Love Island UK, just because the way they flirt is a lot better. Calling a bird fit, the chat being important. And yeah, I do have like I would say Love and Hip Hop Atlanta specifically. But usually a lot of the reality TV, it's on the background while I'm working.
Okay, fair enough.
All
Do you
right.
guys watch The Bachelor at all?
I do. I haven't more recently, but I always was a fan of The Bachelor. I go like in and out now of watching it, but
Yeah.
most of the seasons.
All right, just curious.
Did either of you, I don't know if you're even allowed to say this, but did either of you apply to any other shows except for The Circle?
I've always applied for Big Brother for like 5 years. I was applying and I was always making it to finals, but never getting on. And
They
then
should cast you. They're idiots.
I wish. But then after I got told no the last time by Big Brother, a week later, a casting producer reached out to me about The Circle. And I was so upset. So I was like, you know what? I don't care about Big Brother anymore. I'm going to go do something else. And then the rest is history. So
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I never applied for reality TV. I'm an AI engineer, so working in big tech, and then like I just moved to LA 2 days, and then they found me off Bumble. So here we are.
They
The
found you
Circle
on
came
Bumble?
after you on Bumble. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as you move to a new city, you got to re-download the apps. I had just moved from South America.
And they hit you up
Dang.
immediately. They were like fresh meat.
Yeah, I guess that was my one introduction to LA, right?
Yeah, exactly. Wow. What a first week in LA. How much of the decision about going into this show was influenced by your personal desires to be influencers, or did that factor in at all?
I mean, I feel like honestly it does factor in for anyone that kind of goes on, but I think mostly for me it was just that I wanted to play a social strategy game, but then of course obviously the repercussions of that with social media doesn't hurt. But yeah, I definitely went into it more just for the game.
Okay.
Yeah, I did it for the group chat memes. Once my boys found out, they thought it'd be funny to roast me with some gifs, and that was kind of what it was more like. You can't back out, just see how far you can go, and then you find out you actually get it. So I
Yeah.
kind of went with it.
You were just
Um,
confused. You thought it was part of Bumble.
so to be honest, I had no idea about most of the social stuff. I've had to hit up Corey, Kyle for some advice. I didn't know you could mute notifications because as soon as it was aired, my phone was blowing up and I couldn't even use it. So this
Wow.
is all kind of still like dipping my toes into the water, still figuring it out.
It's so
Interesting.
pure.
Wow.
All
I
right.
mute every group chat as soon as I'm added to it. So that's shocking. Do you, I am just personally curious because when I heard of the circle, I was like, okay, it's measuring social media influence, but then it's only a few people in a group. Do you think that the show is saying what it measures, this ability to influence people via social media, or is it something else, like ability to strategize within like a small message board? What do you guys think?
I feel like it's kind of evolved, like what the show
Mhm.
is. Season 1 versus season 6 is so different. Like it
Mm-hmm.
started as just, I feel like almost a social experiment of what happens when we put these people from all around America, different lifestyles, into this one experiment, and then have them have the ability to catfish as people and just talk through text. And I feel like in season 1, you see a lot of like genuine relationships form between like Shuby and Joey and like people that would not normally get together, maybe on the outside world. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why a lot of people fell in love with the show because it was such a like an interesting way to see people connect that wouldn't normally. But then because of I feel like the foundation of it being a game show that you're trying to win, it's kind of evolved into something where you can use strategy and use those relationships to try to get yourself to win the game. So I don't know. I feel like we're at a point right now where there's kind of like an evolution happening, and it's still a mix of being a social strategy game show, but then also being a game show or being a show where you're just genuinely trying to form relationships.
Yeah. And that thing you're talking about where it's kind of the back and forth between I'm playing a game, but also I don't want to screw over these people that might be my friends or maybe more. I'm not saying anything. Friends or more. That we're starting to see come out in Traders. It's always been in Big Brother. It's maybe slightly more interesting in the circle because you're not seeing each other physically. There are no micro expressions for you to pick up on, and you don't know kind of what you're doing. Do you think that element of it? I mean, obviously, some players go all the way game, some players go all the way friendship, some players are in the middle. Do you think that element of it, as you're saying there's an evolution going on, is kind of falling by the wayside, the emotional part of it? Is it more about gameplay now?
Yeah, I think it might be. And I think that's why some fans might be a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
upset with this season than others.
Mhm.
Because it is becoming less emotional. I mean, we still had a few good talks. I feel like me and Myles had a really emotional conversation. Kyle and
For sure.
Olivia did. So there's still kind of elements of that, but I definitely think it's starting to lean more towards the strategy.
Yeah.
As a social strategy fan, I love it. And I feel like that's what I would love to watch. But yeah, I guess it just depends on the viewer and what people want to see. But
Totally.
yeah, I definitely can see that. But I can see there being kind of like ebbs and flows. Like I don't know, season 7
Yeah.
might be more of that emotional connection than it is strategy. So I think it just depends on who's in the game and who's playing. Like I went
Yeah.
into the game wanting to do just strategy. I was like, no emotion involved at all. I'm going to go in as a gamer. And then you get in there and I mean, you're actually starting to connect with people and form these friendships and relationships. So it's hard to just do strategy, but I definitely went in there wanting to. And then once
Mhm.
you're there, it's like, well, I actually do want to get to know these people on a personal level. So.
I
I
think Oh, I was gonna just say, I think
yeah.
it also just depends on the twists and turns we get. Like nobody expected the ride or die, the AI twist.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so I think that forced a lot of the strategy. So that kind of depends on the production team. Then there are just players, even if they are being like some of the strategy is to be genuine. So it's like how you're
Hmm.
using your authenticity. So I think it's going to be a combination. I think it's like probably good to have a mix of people in it because then it
Yeah.
also so it's the more interesting dynamics.
Well, speaking of that AI thing, I mean that it was done by the producers. That was their decision to put in quotes an AI. I don't think it was because at the time of your shooting, There was no GPT-4o. There wasn't really an AI that could do what that AI was at least showing what it could do on screen
Chad
at the
is
time.
very into AI, so he was very disappointed by the nature of it.
And by the
And
presentation of it.
we had a whole AI engineer in there, so
Yeah.
Exactly.
I thought I was going to have a break from work. This was going to be my little vacation. And I think it's like this is where you get into it, right? We see that the photos you give no description. Is they using a catfish's photos? Are they generating the images? We don't know if it's a human in the loop. We don't know if it's a pure LLM. Are they processing the conversations? Is it ML? Or like are they what type of like input and output is going into it? So it's like you could have said anything. You could have even like we just have no idea. Like we don't know the output token limits. So
Yeah.
like
Of course,
that's like
the output token limits. Everyone was wondering.
I mean,
so it just does make you. There's definitely some magic behind it. We'll just never know, you know.
to me, the biggest, most telling detail of it was that they abandoned the idea almost immediately. So I think the producers had an idea like, we're going to put this AI in and see if they can figure out what's an AI. Then they were like, oh, this is terrible. We have to get rid of it immediately. So they put it through one round and then they just revealed it to you all who the AI was, like instantaneously. I was like, what? Don't we want to see if the AI can win the game? Isn't that what I'm tuning in for here?
I feel like it would have become the same problem that they kind of have with catfish sometimes, where it just becomes a show about finding the catfish and then you lose the game. I think it would have become that because I mean, I really feel like personally, I would have never thought that it was going to be Max's AI. So if Max would have just kept staying in the game and we kept looking for the AI, it just would have been like, okay, I think it's Lauren. Okay, I think it's Paul. Okay, I think it's Kyle. And we would have just been trying to find and catch the AI the whole time. So I feel like maybe they realized that and they were like, okay, we need to just reveal who the AI is because they're probably not going to get it and we need to move on with the game.
I think it was too. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
You can go first.
I was just going to say, I was thinking that it's too hard for them to actually do it. I don't think that was an AI. Maybe they typed in a few things to ChatGPT to get some responses back, but like an AI just can't do, at least the way they're presenting it in the show. At the time you guys shot the show, there's no, at least consumer grade AI that can do that. So I really do think it was producers like faking an AI and they were just like, this is too hard. We got to quit.
Yeah, we don't have enough tokens.
If you played with ChatGPT back in the day around that time, right? Some of the output was a little wild, so you would have to have somebody to authorize it in case it said something out of pocket. And then,
absolutely,
to be honest, like with the AI hunt, right? Like they don't show this edit, but once like Max leaves that group chat, I'm like, no human would do that. And like I call out the photos, but there's not really a benefit to getting out the AI if it's going against the group, because if you go for the AI and you get it wrong, now you have a target in the back because it just looks like you're taking out players who like are working against your advantage, right? So I think it becomes like too much of a witch hunt at that point where it's not enjoyable.
QT, you applied as a super fan. Were there players from the circle whose play style you were trying to replicate when you were going in?
Not fully. I really wanted to just go in and I mean, maybe I took elements from different people's game, but I kind of wanted to go and not change the game, but change how people like perceive the game or play it in a more strategic way than I feel like it has been played in the past. I really think like our whole cast, not even just me, we all played more strategically than it ever has been played. So I don't know. I mean, there's players that I love, obviously, like, but I feel like the players I love to watch are not it's not the way that I played. Like I love watching Shuby, but I did not play like Shuby at all. Maybe Delisa a little bit. She was an amazing catfish and just player in general. So I feel like I took elements of that. I loved Chaz last season. So I don't know, maybe I took elements of their game to kind of, I don't know, place myself in certain positions. But yeah, no, not really anyone that I was like, oh, I need to play exactly like this person. I think also because the part of the game is just knowing who you're playing with. So once you figure out who the other players are, it's kind of adapting and being flexible from there of like, okay, I know when I talk to this certain person, I need to talk in this way because that's how they'll receive me. So yeah, no, just being adaptable and flexible, I feel like is my main strategy going in.
You both knew when you got cast, you're going into a Netflix reality show. There's a very real possibility that coming out of this show, they're going to ask you to be on Perfect Match. Did that cross your mind at all? And I'm not saying that you'd go on now. Of course, if you're in a committed relationship with someone, are you?
Trying to get the tea.
I'm just saying, maybe that's happening, maybe it's not. But there are these opportunities in the Netflix reality world to extend your career as a reality TV star. Perfect Match being pretty much the foremost of those. You saw Joey Sasso come from The Circle. He's now been on that show. He also has been on The GOAT for a brief shining moment on Amazon.
So cool.
But there are these third wave reality shows, is what we call them. These shows that kind of take people from other shows and pit them against each other, either in a social game or a Survivor style game or whatever. Did that cross your mind at all when you were going into this show that maybe I'll do that next?
Not really. I think the casting process for something like this is so long and rigorous that it's like you're just focused on that. So
Yeah.
I really was just focused on The Circle, trying to do the best that I could on The Circle. And then I don't know, like, yeah, it never really crossed my mind, the perfect match of it all. I feel like it's kind of a newer thing too, that a lot of streaming services, mostly Netflix now, I feel like is trying to do with this like meta kind of reality world where they're taking people from different shows. So it didn't really cross my mind, but I mean, I'd love to do anything.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
How about you, Miles?
We love
Did
Perfect
any of
Match.
that?
I mean, to be quite honest, I was just thinking about the work I had to catch up on when I got back from filming. Because they were not expecting it. It was like my third week on the job, and I'd say I'm taking a month off.
Yeah.
So like I knew about like Perfect Match. It was on. I hadn't watched it yet. It was on my to watch list. Any of these like now I've watched it. Pretty good show. I think for all these shows out here, all right, I would be open to like any opportunity if it made sense with my lifestyle at the moment. But like clearly, it wasn't my game plan. It was more like the whole thing seemed like out of pocket for me to begin with. So like trying to plan like 2 shows out, that's just like I'm just more of an in the moment guy.
Fair enough. All right. Well, speaking of an in the moment guy, you guys had a showmance. 100%. That happened. Is it continued? I've seen your vlog where you guys went to the pumpkin patch and you did some paint splatter dating.
It's a good vlog. Everyone should watch it.
I agree. Go check it out. It's on Corey's YouTube channel. Are you guys dating?
We are dating in a sense that we're exploring things still.
Okay.
Maybe
Fair
not.
enough.
I think it's like very weird if you think about it, right? I travel a lot just personally and for work.
Yeah.
Corey travels a lot. So like there was a moment where I think for like 3 months, neither of us were in California after filming.
Yeah.
So like that's like you try to start something and then it's like you're traveling. I mean, I'm going on Friday, I'm out of the country for a month. So it's like
Where are you
hard
going?
to keep that up. I'm going to Brazil, São Paulo, baby.
Nice.
And Kyle was supposed to be there finishing his basketball season, but that was a pivot. But I think like, you know, we're exploring stuff. It's just like also trying to manage our schedules. Like,
Sure.
I think also like with this, like a lot of stuff has changed with our schedule since the shows come out. And then there's like, yeah, there's a point of doing stuff for content, but then doing stuff off camera, which we're trying to do privately, you know?
Sure.
I'm
sure.
trying to figure out if your backgrounds are in the same house.
Yeah, it's no, I can't.
It'd be crazy.
It's interesting. I mean, this whole experience has been interesting with me and Myles. I feel like because obviously we formed some kind of connection on the show and we liked each other and was flirting and everything. And then coming out of it, it's a weird thing. Like when you're getting to know someone, it's not someone that you met on a show and like cameras are involved. And now with the show being out and people having so much to say about it online, I feel like we're trying to figure it out on a personal sense and like outside of the whole social media realm of it. And it's hard to kind of find that balance, but we're figuring it out, seeing things.
Yeah. I mean, this is something that we cover The Bachelor and Love is Blind, all the dating shows as well, which is the exact opposite. The point of those shows is that you're forming a very public relationship on a TV show. And we always talk about how it becomes difficult sometimes for people who go through that experience to date what we call civilians, people who have never been on reality TV. Do you find that now that you've both been through this process, that it might be difficult to date a civilian because truly nobody else can understand what you went through except somebody else who went through it?
Yeah, that is a unique thing too. I feel like what me and Myles kind of bond on is like a lot of times we're like, okay, when we go out tonight, we're not going to talk about the show at all. And then it comes up because it's what's happening in our lives right now. And
Sure.
yeah, like only we can understand what has happened. So it is nice to have that person that you can kind of lean on and talk about what's going on or your feelings about certain things and in a way that other people won't understand. So
Hmm.
I do like that dynamic. But yeah, I don't know how it would be to be with someone like a civilian, as you say.
Yeah.
It's such a weird thing because like this is also new to me. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
I think also the weird thing is like we've seen the edits versus what we've experienced from.
Mhm.
So like everybody will have this whole perspective. They don't understand like the edit culture. And like there's also the element like I'll be honest, when like QT and I came out, there's like that element like we were just messaging through chat. Obviously there's something there, but like you realize it's a social strategy game at the same time, and there's always like a plant a seed of doubt, right, in your head, like how much of it was strategy versus how much is there versus like
Hmm.
when you actually see the actual footage, because some stuff you can't alter with an edit, like what nobody can put words in your mouth,
Hmm.
and I think like with
Eh.
that, well, maybe I mean I wouldn't allow that. I'd walk
Depends
off.
on what show you're on. On Bachelor, they do it all the time.
It wasn't my experience on the circle anyway,
Yeah.
right? So like on that, it's like being able to see that. It's like also you have to reinspect like your former interactions, how you're interpreting everything, because it's
Mm.
like
Hmm.
completely revisiting everything, And I like to be honest, like seeing like Corey so genuine in some of those moments, like it definitely like changes like your whole perspective of everything, At least for me, it did.
That's
Yeah.
so
Especially
sweet.
it doesn't help. I was gonna say it doesn't help when he comes to visit my apartment and it says puppet master and he's like, wait, so what's been going on?
Yeah. Well,
Am
but
I
that's
the
part of
puppet?
like
Right.
you always see on shows like this, like Siri Fields, who this will be a spoiler, pace case, cover your ears. The person who won the first season of Traitors, she came out and basically, to two other players, one specifically was like, listen, I know I completely manipulated you to win the money, and sorry about that, but everything I said to you in our friendship was real. And
Right.
so I feel like that element is starting to come out in these things.
Yeah.
Like, we got to wave to Pace Case and get her back in here. She's not looking. It's okay. You're good.
You're always trying to ruin my
You're good.
life with
I'm sorry.
spoilers. I'm
But I
watching
think that
Trader
that's an
season 1 right now.
yeah, I didn't want to ruin it for her. But I think that's an interesting aspect of all these third wave games. But the Circle, Big Brother, like any of these second wave games that have that social component, they all kind of deal with that. It's like how much of our personal relationship is real versus how much are you trying to strategize and play against me. I don't know that we've seen somebody, at least in third wave, just do a straight like, I'm going to manipulate all of them. I don't give a shit about any of them. I'm going to lie about having some kind of personal tragedy, and I'm going to we haven't seen that quite yet, but maybe that's
Mm.
coming.
I mean, kind of in Survivor, Johnny Fairplay lying about
Yeah.
his grandma dying. That was like
Yes.
the most we've seen, and we haven't seen it again because that it's just I feel like it takes a certain kind of crazy to completely do something like that. Because I feel like I went in there trying to be very strategic, but then once you're there, it's like, okay, you're playing with real people, real emotions, and you
Yeah.
don't want to hurt people completely. And like, is it worth it for $100,000? Maybe not so
Yeah.
much.
But it's
It'd
not
be
just
like 500.
$100,000.
Yeah. If it's $1 million, if I'm on Survivor playing for $1 million, I'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like the secondary part of this. You're not just playing for $100,000. You're playing for maybe 100,000 Instagram followers or more. You're playing for a berth into Perfect Match, a berth into Traders, a berth into The GOAT, any of these other shows where you can not only potentially win more money, but grow your following. Once you hit that million follower mark on Instagram, you're making 70 grand for an Instagram story. It's like,
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
know this stuff?
I feel like that's like a whole different game you have to play though,
yeah,
in the sense of like that game, I feel like you have to go in and really be like the fan favorite and do
yes.
play up for the cameras, do what you think people are gonna like. So in that way, I feel like you have to be less manipulative probably in these games because well, I guess it depends too. Like I went in knowing that the audience of the circle doesn't really like a manipulative gameplay.
Hmm.
They like to see those genuine connections and stuff. So I knew that I was probably kind of like walking on eggshells or maybe doing the wrong thing for a long-term career in social media because of that. But I still wanted to, because I'm a super fan, wanted to go in and play the strategic, fun gamer kind of game. So I don't know. I feel like there's like a little bit of a balance you have to have. And
Sure.
yeah, like you said, there's so much outside of just winning the $100,000 that you can get from these things.
Yeah.
So it's just knowing how to kind of maneuver and play that too.
Well, I mean, some of that, you see a player like Harry Jowsey going into Too Hot to Handle, and there have been a bunch of interviews that he's done on a variety of podcasts where he was like, I went in with a catchphrase, I went in with a strategy about how I was going to like essentially insult every other player and get them all mad at me so that I become the
Applied
focus of
via
attention.
a bunch of different personas to the show.
Yeah. And it worked. I mean, his end goal was to become an influencer, and he did it. So to that end, Myles, you come in with this nickname, Young Papi Fuego. Where did that nickname come from? I thought you created it for the show, but maybe not.
No, actually, it just worked out. It happened to be my Instagram name as well. No, I got that in Colombia. I was traveling with my boys. It was like this is when I was living in South America for like 3-4 years, and they came to visit.
Yeah.
We were in Bogota, and I'm the only one that speaks Spanish. And we were doing flaming shots at the bar, right? And like flaming Dr. Peppers. And I left to go outside. Like there's another outdoor bar there, and some girl came over to my friends and goes like, "Donde está young papi, fuego, fuego." And so it just like that's just kind of how it happened, and it just became a joke and name where they just started calling me Young Papi Fuego.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
That's a great
So
nickname.
you didn't even give it to yourself. Wow, that's absolutely insane to me. I really thought you made it up for the show.
I mean, it's good if you think about it like that now, but I mean, if we need to rechange the story, but no, that's the
OG. When you guys find out that you're cast, did you prep? I mean, I'm assuming you're a super fan. You're rewatching the tape. Did you, I don't know, do some sort of a gym routine to like get ready for TV?
Yeah, I definitely was prepping everything. I wanted to look camera ready all the time. So like getting my hair done, my lashes. Honestly, I did not go to the gym as much as I probably should have. And then I just prepped a lot like for the game sense too, like writing out notes about all other seasons and stuff. Like I really wanted to go in there and I know what a lot of people think usually when people go onto these shows is like they're just going on to become an influencer, but I really wanted to prove that I was doing it for more than just that. Like I actually wanted to play the game in a good way. So I wanted to prep to be able to showcase that once I got there.
Yeah, I think for me, I kind of fucked up with my prepping. I did not pack any books like or anything, so I was bored as hell in the apartment. They could just give me puzzles. I think the only thing I really cared about was to make sure I had clean fits for every day, and I ordered some skincare in advance because I feel gross without it. So I'd have to wake up like 30 minutes before everybody else to do my skincare routine.
Oh, wow.
Skincare was fire, fits for fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were the Phaedra of this season of The Circle. Let me ask you guys this. You go into the show. Oh, Jesus. You go into the show, and you have thought about what this is going to be like leading into your appearance on the show. Was there something that when you got there, it was exactly like you thought it was going to be?
I would say like the exact thing for me would probably be the opening message and the secret influencer, the super secret influencer at the end, which I should have prepared for a little more. The opening messages are all the same. It's whoever comes in first with the highest energy, or like, and you contribute to the group chat. They're almost the first day messages are almost exactly the same because I had to catch up and watch The Circle because I wasn't expecting to go on. And like, if you watch the first episode of every season, the first day is almost identical.
Yeah,
I would say the only thing that I didn't prep for that I kind of seemed almost exactly like season 5 was the super secret influence.
Oh shit.
Uh-oh. Did we lose Myles?
Well,
Uh-oh.
Maybe, maybe not. We'll see what happens. Corey, how about you? Was there any surprises or anything that you thought was exactly the same as you thought it was going to be?
as Block's Oliver, and I think
Okay. Oh, there you go.
You're back, Myles. You cut out a
Can you hear
little
me?
bit there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
You were talking about
I
season
was saying,
secret influencers like season 5.
oh yeah, I was saying like that's like kind of the exact thing that like Chaz like blocked Oliver for, and I feel like we didn't prep that. Like I could have seen that coming, and we just focused on down like gutting the bottom
Mhm.
rather than like aligning on top, and that should have been a clear message. But it almost exactly plays out like season 5 at the end,
Mhm.
like that ending situation because they don't announce it, but there's like a 50% chance that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Do you think it's
Yeah.
better to be an OG or to come in later?
OG.
OG, 100%. It's almost impossible to win the game as
Mm.
a latecomer, especially if you're coming in like halfway through the game. Just
Mhm.
so many things are already solidified and alliances are already made. So it's hard to get in there. I mean, we see with Big J, obviously, it did not play out the way that he wanted it to. And Autumn never was able to get her footing. Like
Mhm.
it's so hard in that spot.
Yeah.
Mm.
Let me ask you this about production. How often are you talking to producers, and what does that look like? Are they just talking to you through the speakers in the room, or do they actually come into the room
No, you're in the room by yourself completely.
for the
Uh,
whole time?
yeah, the whole
Okay.
time.
Whoa.
You're by yourself, and then yeah, you're just like speaking. They're speaking through a speaker. Yeah, I don't know how much I can say about it, but
Yeah, yeah,
you're,
obviously. Whatever
you're
you can say, we're happy to hear. Whatever you can't, please don't
no,
feel.
but yeah, you're definitely in the apartment, like fully by yourself. You can go
Mhm.
crazy.
Go
So
crazy.
I had producers in the room, but that was only when I set a fire and then the smoke alarm came up. So they came to check in. I wasn't dying because
Yeah.
like the whole room was covered in smoke. But
And you were
besides that,
like, young Poppy Fuego, living up to the name.
You're
Burn
like,
down the
yeah,
entire
here's
circle
an
apartment building.
experimental strategy to get some FaceTime.
Yeah.
I think that was like the one
Setting
sense of
fires.
sanity I had was
Yeah.
actually seeing people at that midway point. But besides that, yeah, you kind of go like batshit crazy because it's really just you looking at a screen the whole time and some
God.
voices coming out of it. But
Yeah, I mean
Well, I
that's
mean
how
that
they torture people in like jail, right? You go in the
yes,
isolated.
I
um,
mean, that is a component of a lot of these reality shows. They isolate you, take your cell phone and all that. But another big component of second wave reality shows, the thing that really defines them is the ITM, the in the moment footage. Like Bachelor has this. It started, at least in American real world, where a player is just sitting down with a producer, looking right into the camera and kind of rehashing whatever just happened or whatever they need you to say. The Circle doesn't have that because you're in these rooms by yourself, but it still has something that functionally serves the same purpose, which is you guys are just like talking into the air about your inner thoughts or what just happened. How much of that is prompted by producers over the speakers to you?
I feel like it's more prompted by whatever's on the screen. Like after
Yeah.
the first like day or two, you kind of get the hint that when something pops up on the screen, don't just read it out loud and that's it. Like talk about how you're feeling about it or
Okay.
yeah, like what you think this means for your game. So I feel like at some point, honestly, after like 2 days, I was pretty prepped where they didn't have to say anything to me. It was just like alert comes on the screen, alert, oh my gosh, so crazy.
Yeah.
And then you read what's on the screen, and then it's like, oh my gosh, what does this mean for me? Oh my goodness, like what am I going to do? Who am I going to rate first? And you just start talking everything out. Like
Uh-huh.
I feel like I came back home and I was just talking a mile a minute all the time because I'm so used to it at that point. It's like you have to say every little thing that's in your head.
I
That's
love that.
amazing. So this has affected you. Are you like this as well, Myles? You're just walking around your house now, just talking out loud about everything?
I definitely became a little more talkative. I think it took me like 2 weeks to get back to normal to reading text in a normal way. Like I would sit on text for like 2 minutes and going, what the fuck does he mean? What's up?
Traumatizing.
I think it's because you're staring at these messages and like the messages are definitely like sped up in the edits. Like
Yeah.
I think like the yoga session that with Steffi was actually like an hour and a half and like the most awkward group chat in my life. But like you're literally staring at these messages for like 5-10 minutes and trying to process them before the next one comes in.
Mhm.
Oh,
So I
wow.
think that just takes a while. Like obviously some are faster, like when they're one-on-one. And I don't know the reason for that. And my thought is they're probably getting everybody's reaction before allowing the next one person to chat.
Yeah.
Like when me and Corey are chatting, I think there's only like 3-4 minutes in between the messages, if that. So that's like more like normal conversations. But those massive circle chats, like you're staring at them for so long and over interpreting everything. Like you're thinking 5 different possibilities of meaning.
Yeah. And are you getting then prompts like from the producers? Like somebody puts a message in the group chat, everybody reads it, and then the producers come on the speakers and say, okay, next up. Or is it really you guys are taking multiple minutes to process and strategize before you reply?
No, oh, sorry.
You can go first, Corey.
No, I was just going to say that so whatever if the circle chat is open or whatever, you say what you want to type and then it's typed into that text box. And sometimes you know that your message is about to go or not, but it just kind of like stays there. And then I guess they decide like which message
I see.
first. But yeah, you say it right away and then you're just kind of waiting around for it to be sent. And then it's the most annoying thing is, especially in the private conversations, when you send a message that's like a big deal or like asking someone for an alliance or something, and then you see the like text bubbles, like ... on their name, and it's just ... for like 10 minutes. You're just waiting for this response. That is honestly the worst part of it all. I did not realize how long the chats actually take. And I think that's why a lot of people are always like, why don't you guys talk to more people? Like you should have talked to everyone on day one. And the conversation just takes so long that it would be impossible for us to all get all the chats that we want and to be able to talk for that long. So yeah.
I did not realize it was that slow.
So slow. Oh my goodness. At one point so for most of the conversations, I started realizing I need to sit down whenever a chat started so that I would be sitting, because one time, I think it was my first day talking to Olivia, I was standing in the bathroom and my legs started to hurt. I had to like shake out my back because I was just standing up for so long. And I was like, this is taking forever. And then you have to stay on the exact mark that you're on because that's where the cameras are set up to shoot everything. Oh my gosh. Yeah, those conversations take forever.
I remember Chloe saying that she was in a tub for like 2 or 3 hours for some conversation.
Probably wilting away.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like a Squid Game challenge has that same element. Is there ever a point where you're speaking some kind of thing in, here's my message, I'm saying it. I assume this is a producer typing that message in somewhere in the control room. Do you ever see like errors in what you're saying when you're like 5 exclamation points, 3 sad face emojis? Do they ever just put 2 sad face emojis and you have to be like, I asked for 3 sad face emojis?
I threatened to walk off the first day because they shortened my AYO from like with the 3 Y's to 5 O's. I was like, and they AYO. I said, who would write that? My grandpa. And then
my grandpa. What is this? Old Papi Fuego.
And then I think there's some emojis that are missing. Like when everybody would mention, there's a point where like they kept mentioning tea in one of our group chats, and nobody did like the Kermit the Frog meme. So there were some missing emojis that are. But besides that, I think like what I type with a lot of slang and like just normally in my group chat, and that had to change a little bit just because they said nobody's going to understand what you mean. And then the fact is like when you're writing these important messages, it's like some of them get long, especially when you're talking strategy about who to kick out, why. Break it down the shorter messages for the visual of TV, or send as separate messages. Like I think when I like talked to Cassie originally, apologizing to her for drawing that, I wrote it as one message, but they send it as like 3 separate ones, and that's just like stuff they said they had to do it so it fits on the screen for the edits and stuff like that.
Interesting.
Yeah. Wow. If you had one piece of advice for incoming circle players, what would you say?
One piece of advice. There's like so much advice I don't really get.
Being on the show.
What's that?
Wait, say it again.
For like people applying for the circle or for people on the show?
I would say people who get cast.
Okay.
Or application. Both are interesting for sure.
For application, stay on the dating apps.
Yeah, go on Bumble.
Yeah.
I think the game is changing. So like we don't even know, like season 7's been filmed, but we don't know how that's going to change. So like I think my advice would probably be like maybe not the best person to listen. I got booted before the finals, right? But I
Mhm.
would say definitely try to be be as authentic as you can, depending on who you're playing as. But
Mhm.
don't forget, there's always strategy. You can combine the two. You can
Mm.
be strategic and be authentic. And I will say this, like I didn't have to worry about this. Some people like have gotten some bad reception afterwards, some violent threats. Just remember, like some stuff you do will come back to like just how you want to be reflected post show. Just always think about that, like when you're saying certain words, you know? Yeah.
Mhm.
I feel
Dang.
like for my advice for people in casting is to like play up a character. You need to be a character that they can see on TV. So whatever, if it's like being young Poppy Fuego, like be the full young Poppy Fuego. Or if you want to go in a strategy, like for me, I only talked about strategy in my casting. So like play up whatever element of your character that will be good for TV. So yeah, I feel like that's my advice for casting. And then once you're on the show, I agree with Myles. Be aware that you're playing a game, but you're also playing for the cameras, and you
Mhm.
don't want it to affect your life outside of the game. So definitely be aware of the things that you're saying, and be sure that whatever you're saying on there, you're fine with coming out on TV and you're fine with everyone, the whole world seeing.
Mhm.
And then as far as gameplay, I think like there is, as much as I love the strategy of it and the gaming of it, there's a level of authenticity that I think you need to have, especially in the circle of like, don't be so game oriented that you lose out on relationships and true connections that you can actually form. Because like I've met some of the most amazing people. I'm so happy about my connection with Myles and with Kyle, and like those were genuine things that I was able to form in there. So yeah, have authenticity when you're in there, as well as a
Yeah.
little bit of gameplay.
That's what we break down reality TV into basically a game that you're playing against four audiences in some cases. Your show doesn't have the first audience in The Bachelor, that's like The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, but it definitely has the second audience, which is the other players. And generally speaking, when you come out of any of these shows, the benefit of having a good second audience game is you get to make social media with all these players. And so you get to have like a secondary kind of bump in all your social media numbers after the show finishes airing, and you're going to people's birthday parties and Stagecoach and
Pumpkin
Coachella and whatever
patch.
else, pumpkin patches, going on some painting dates, what have you. Um, but let's shift gears and talk quickly about kind of the state of reality television. I'm curious if you guys have seen the lawsuit settlement that Jeremy Hartwell just did with Netflix. Are you aware of this at all?
I'm not, no.
Jeremy Hartwell is a player from season 2 of Love is Blind, and he sued Netflix because they filed tax forms basically saying that all the players on season 1 were employees, yet in their contracts it says they're independent contractors. And so he just settled a lawsuit with them for $1.4 million, which I think may change how Netflix at least does their contracts. But do you think that this settlement will have like far reaching effects into Circle, Perfect Match, any other Netflix shows, reality shows?
I have no idea.
All
I
right.
mean, do you think that it will? Like, how do you think
Yeah.
that would change things?
I mean, there's
I
definitely like a conversation, a larger conversation about whether people who are on reality shows should get, union protections and like, certain amount of hours you work, certain amount of like food that you're guaranteed. And often in non-scripted, they don't get the same kind of rights as scripted TV. So it's kind of a thing that is definitely in the conversation, and this Jeremy Hartwell lawsuit, we feel like plays into it.
Yeah, there's a
Yeah, just
couple other
curious.
lawsuits that are against Love is Blind as well for things that are way worse than like contract violations that are like wrongful imprisonment and stuff like this. And we don't know how those lawsuits are going to shake out. But one of the claims that is made in one of them is that Love is Blind wouldn't allow their players to eat, wouldn't feed them. And so we just saw, I don't know if you saw the most recent season of Love is Blind, but they overcorrected, and basically every person is constantly eating in every scene of that show to basically be like, look, we do give them food. And I noticed on your guys' season 2, there's a lot of cooking and eating and stuff. Do you feel like the food was overrepresented in your season at
Food was
all?
overrepresented.
I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I think I had such like great experience on the circle, and then I
Yeah,
also think it depends. Like, there's different production companies for different shows and stuff,
Yeah.
but
sure.
I had a great experience. I feel like, yeah, they were always giving me food to make and eat. I mean, we cook all our own food, so then it's up
Sure.
to us to actually cook it or start fires for it. But
Get him.
yeah, no, I don't know. I think I had a great experience. I also think that because we're so new to this whole reality TV scope, that I don't feel like I'm knowledgeable enough on like what happens on different sets and what should or should not be allowed. So I don't know. It's interesting to see how this will all play out
Yeah.
within
Does
reality TV.
did you guys get paid on the circle?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
we get paid. It's a like a small amount for each day. Like you're going in for the big prize.
Yeah. But I
Gotcha.
mean, that's at least, they treat you like human beings on the circle, it sounds like. Like, Bachelor players don't get paid. They literally get $0. It's like, you're going in for love. This isn't a TV show or a game show. You're going in for love. And so I think, personally, all reality TV show performers should be paid at least the same kind of a day rate that actors are, at the minimum. And then if you wind up being kind of, I mean, obviously you can win money if it's a game show format, but I just think, like, to not pay reality performers who are essentially the backbone of these shows that are making these giant corporations hundreds of millions of dollars is insane to me. It's insane that we've been doing this for, I mean, Real World came out in 1993, I think, 1994, and this contract has basically been in place, this boilerplate that's like, you sign your life over. And it's been that way for, 30, 40 years now. It's
Yeah.
very crazy to
I
me.
feel like there's always been this like separation between reality TV and like actual TV, like
Yeah.
scripted and unscripted. But now I think we're seeing kind of this boom in reality TV. And maybe it's also because of the SAG AFTRA stuff. So there were so many shows getting created and now they're all coming out. So it's an interesting conversation, I think, to have now of like reality TV is so big and making so much money for all of these places. So yeah, how do you compensate the people that are actually
Yeah.
on the shows?
That's part
And
of the
with
problem
AI.
is that with scripted, you're getting people coming back more, but with non-scripted, it's like they're churning out new cast each season, so it's harder to build those protections, I think.
Yeah.
I think what it's becoming is more like a per player kind of basis, like raising your quote basically every time you go on another show. It's like, I started out on The Circle, but then I went on Perfect Match where I got paid, and then I went on Traders where I got paid a little more. And every time you kind of jump to a new show, your quote will go up. But I mean, also, I think it's interesting, Myles, in your field of artificial intelligence, we're on the cusp of really seeing a moment where producers will be able to take your footage and just type in new dialogue and you will say it and it will look photo real. That's right around the corner. And I think every reality TV show will be doing that. And in that case, do you have to pay that person money?
So I think like what are you talking specifically like with Sora and everything like that with that new VR release? What specific?
No, I mean, Avid currently has technology where you can do this. You can literally type in new dialogue and the person will just say it and it looks exactly real.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, the best like one of the better ones. I look at Sora just because my friends like
Sure.
lead research
It's
and
astounding. Yeah.
yeah, and I do think like there's still some rendering issues that you'll see. Like obviously, it's going to be close, but I mean that's like there's going to have to be some. I don't know the right way about this. Like I'm not the. I only went to law school for one semester, right? Part time. It's definitely going to be some interesting contracts there and differential
Yes.
signing away the rights, fees. That's outside of my pay grade to determine that. But it'll be interesting to see how AI gets involved. But like, you can write as much as you want. I think there is something about the genuineness and authentic of human reactions that you can't script, and that's why people like unscripted, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can have somebody do something in the perfect moment. I think like seeing Twitter's reaction to like me being blocked. Yeah, it's good, but like it would have been nice for me to go to the final. But that pivot that like Brandon has to make is something that's such great TV that I don't think like a writer would have come up with. And I think like these unscripted moments are like just the genuine authenticity, like with either like me and Corey doing breakfast in bed, or the iconic Kyle and Brandon hot tub scene.
Yeah.
I don't think you can you get or would be able to do that with like AI in the immediate future. To be quite
Yeah,
honest.
I don't think it would be a matter of like completely scripting an entire scene. I think it's like they have their footage and they're like, ah, shit, What if he just said that a little meaner? What if they were just a little more funny or whatever? And they can put in a word here or there. Because like in Bachelor and in a lot of shows, they do a process called Frankenbiting already. This has been going on since the dawn of reality TV, where they'll cut sometimes syllables out of different things you've said and put together a whole sentence that you never said, play it over the back of your head. Now they just won't have to play it over the back of your head or cut the dialogue. They will just be able to type it in. And I do think I think that's coming in the next year or two. Just based on what the current technology is. But nonetheless,
maybe 2 to 5 years.
I mean, the technology exists now. It's just a matter of like producers getting their hands on it. It's just not like publicly available. But do either of you plan to go on any other reality TV shows if that opportunity was to present itself?
I'm not opposed to it.
Okay.
Let's
That's a yes. I
go.
think that's a definitive yes.
Honestly, I was going to say I was one and done. This was just for the experience. But after going through it and the release and the great connections I've made and some great things that have happened outside of the show personally because of meeting people on it, I think like for me, this isn't something I would have said like 6 months ago or like, but I think I would do something if it's the right opportunity, right chemistry. Like I had a great experience.
Yeah.
I had a great time. Why wouldn't you do it again? But like, obviously it just has to fit with the lifestyle. I still got a job. I'm working full time and I don't know how much PTO they'll allow me to do for a second.
Yeah. But I mean, at some point that switch will flip. At some point it's going to be like, oh, wait a minute. This could be my career. Would you potentially get out of AI to become a reality star?
He's an inventor. He's going to invent the future of AI, Clues.
I know, he's smart.
We gotta see how the cards play out. I mean, I never say no to anything. It's more of an in the moment decision. But you know, AI has been treating me well. I'm not gonna lie. But I did enjoy it a lot, and I think it's such an interesting lifestyle. Like I went to I've been surrounded by engineers my whole life, since college and grad school, like working in space robotics, warehouse robotics, self-driving cars. To just meet so many different personalities from such diverse backgrounds, it's something refreshing, and like that is something that I feel I'm growing. Like you grow so much more to those exposures. So there's a different benefit there. I don't know if I'm willing to fully pivot careers right now, but would I be open to doing another show? Yes. And you know, if that opportunity comes and makes sense.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for coming on and talking to us about your experiences. Where can everyone find your continued vlogs, etc., if they want to follow your socials?
For me, it's all just my name on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, just at Quori, Quori-Tyler.
Great.
Mine's at youngpoppy.fuego on Instagram and at youngpoppyfuego on TikTok.
Awesome. Well,
Perfect.
thank you guys so much again. And I think both of you have careers in reality television coming up very shortly, just because there's now all these third wave shows. Someone's going to reach out to both of you and you will be on our screens sometime very soon, I think.
Thank you guys. This is so much fun. I appreciate it.
Our
So
pleasure.
fun.
This was a blast. Thanks.
Yeah. So just to let you know, we'll have this out next Tuesday, a week from today, and we'll tag you and everything and all that stuff if you want.
Thank you
Yeah,
guys so
thank you.
much for coming on. This was
Yeah, it
hilarious.
was a pleasure.
And great.
This was amazing. This was the first podcast for me, actually. So this was
what?
Yeah. I know QT's been lining them up. So podcast.
Yeah.
Wow.
Fantastic.
Well, you wouldn't know it. You seemed like
Yeah,
an old hat.
you're a pro.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Too sweet.
All right. Have a good day, you guys.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Myles and Quori from The Circle Season 6. Give us all the tea and some tips and tricks. Are they dating? How did they get cast? Who's their favorite player from a season past? Learn some things you probably never knew. Sit down and enjoy the score interview.